All right, here we go.
Hi, welcome to New View Productions. This is our panelist discussion on depression and a short discussion on Talk, the short film, which was produced by Salome Deneen and myself, Mia, the
Yes,
director, and myself, Naima Kramer, as the co-producer.
yes. And here we have with us.
We have Chinea Ikeme as a licensed mental health clinician. And we have Salome Deneen, of course, who's the star of Talk, and she's also the co-producer and writer.
Yes,
So let's dig right in. Well, we need to start with some facts.
yes. Surrounding Talk and why this film will be so influential and helpful, I think, to many people, especially when we're working on it together. I just felt like this was going to be very impactful to many lives, and it was impactful, including to my own. So here we go. So we're going to start off with some facts about what different communities or what our community, specifically the Black community, deals with when it comes to depression. And within that margin, women especially.
Many times in Hollywood, with only 4% of the directors being African American, and also with 2% of Black clinicians, sorry. According to an American Psychiatric Association, Black clinicians represent only 2% of practicing psychiatrists and 4% of psychologists providing care. Statistically, many Black women in particular are distrustful of medical practitioners and therefore do not seek help in meeting their mental health needs. And that report comes out of the psychiatric news. So I will also list on our website the articles, the various articles that we mentioned today, the information and the sources, so that you can research those articles. The state of mental health of Black women, clinical considerations. Women experience depression at rates twice that of men, but Black women are only half as likely to seek care as white women. Black women face significant disparities in mental health care. Understanding why these differences occur requires an appreciation for not only the multiple roles that Black women play in society, but also for the racial and social injustices that they have historically faced. Notably, the outlook for Black women often depends on the perspective. So hearing those facts and hearing those statistics, what's your opinion, Chinea, in your field on Black women in particular, on the Black community, reaching out for help with depression?
Yes, I think it's, of course, for many reasons, stigma associated with having a mental health problem, like you also said, Black women being seen as this strong person who masks or hides their struggles because they're expected to perform at, in excellence and endure all types of hardships. And I do see that there's a lot of, a lot of need for mental health, more need for mental health professionals, especially in the Black community. And right now there are a couple of different companies that are starting up to link Black counselors and clinicians and psychologists to people who are looking for these types of clinicians who relate to their experiences a little bit better, who can, connect with them and empathize with them and understand their story. So it's sad to see the statistics, to hear the statistics, but I do believe that with sharing this information and spread, sharing the word and encouraging people to reach out, that there is help, that there is support out there, and there support coming from people who look like them, that people will start reaching out a little bit more and getting the help that they need.
Mm. Thank you. And I think that also comes to address, I think most recently there have been like, some women who have had suicides within the past year. Notably, one of the
Zoe
women that,
Sozo Bethel, who was reported initially as an attempted suicide, and Chelsea Curtis, who was Miss America at one point, actually did commit suicide, which is it's kind of disheartening because they are a very high profile, and they were both beauty pageants, Black beauty in particular, which has been somewhat muted in this country nor celebrated. And then it is celebrated in mainstream. It makes you kind of think twice about how we address their needs, in particular when they're in that public eye. And when we're looking at Hollywood, I wanted to go to Salome and ask, so as far as writing this film, with the underrepresentation of Hollywood addressing certain issues and with Black females, especially with mental health, and properly, I think, properly. And without a happy ending, which is something that I don't like.
Yeah.
What inspired you to write Talk?
Because, there's a stigma of being a woman, like a woman of color. You're supposed to be strong at all times, and you don't get to say, hey, I'm hurting, or, and I think it's important because sometimes when people are depressed, they tend to think that they're going through this alone. And so it's important to showcase that no, there are people like you out here, and it's really important that you seek help. That's the only way you can get better. Just talk.
Right. I think that I feel like, with Chinea, you being in the medical practice of, helping people with these mental issues, things of that nature, and also being a woman of color, I think that you're helping with the disparities that are going on, especially when it comes to the serious neglect that we have as Black women when it comes to mental health, especially with the stigma that we always have to be strong, rather than being able to be vulnerable with someone, so that we can make sure that we're stronger later. So I think I'm glad that we're able to participate in helping with this film with Talk, and spreading light about that, because it is a serious issue that does need to be addressed. And I'm thankful for you for you, Chinea, that you're able to be in this field and to share your insight and your knowledge with us today about the topic of depression.
It's my pleasure to be here. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. There's in a special report in it was saying, normalizing the message. It reads, Black women collectively breathe a sigh of relief when the former First Lady, Michelle Obama, spoke about having a low level of depression during the first few months of the pandemic by revealing something that women, especially Black women, have difficulty sharing. She made talking about mood more acceptable. She also validated that many other women were experiencing what many other women were experiencing. Now that Mrs. Obama and several other high-profile women have discussed their struggles with depression, it is imperative that we continue with the necessary work to change the narrative for women of color. What is your opinion? What is your opinion about the high-profile actresses coming out? I know that some actresses, many actresses, have expressed mental health issues and struggles that they have had. How do you think they should approach that? Either one of you can open up with this. Approach that when addressing the public.
I can go ahead and go. I think it's awesome that, high profile actors, actresses are talking about this, because a lot of times there's this assumption that, the rich don't get depressed, or, if you have everything together, if you're beautiful, if it seems like life is going well for you, then you're not struggling. But that is could not be further from the truth. So it's great that high profile people are talking about this, sharing their struggles, and showing that it is okay to talk about this. And, like Nia said, just, be stronger by being vulnerable is by communicating, by expressing, by sharing, by talking about the hurt, and then you can find solutions to the problem.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that, a part of one scene that we have in Talk, that we're going to share in a bit, is that we have Salome who's playing Rebecca, and, she's writing things in the mirror, the things that she sees in her mind, at one point in time. And I just want to address how you think that, because oftentimes we have negative thoughts, we might have sort of a, uh, sort of that negative feeling about ourselves, whether we're not doing enough or not accomplishing enough in life, or things of that nature. When it comes to our body image, because we're given all sorts of messages throughout the day, each and every day. So with that, I think that addressing those things, how can we address those negative thoughts in a positive manner that would be helpful to our mental health? And this question, I think, is for Chine.
Absolutely. These thoughts might be from, previous messages, someone said something, or we have our own insecurities that, we're focusing on. And a lot of times we develop that habit of thinking the worst about ourselves. We are less likely to call someone else ugly, or call someone else, stupid, or call someone else all these negative statements. But it seems like we feel comfortable calling ourselves these things, these devaluing statements. And sometimes these are thoughts that pop into our heads. But what is important is to recognize the automatic nature of these thoughts and stop ourselves in our track and start changing those statements that we tell ourselves from negative to positive. Now, we might not believe it initially, because we're talking about trying to correct years of negative self-talk. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. It's not going to be, you wake up the next day and you're talking, saying, making positive self-statements. It takes time. And I like in the movie, The Talk, how these were written down, for her to see in the mirror afterwards. I'm beautiful, I'm smart, I'm intelligent. So start, stopping the self-sabotaging, negative, self-devaluing statements by replacing them with positive statements that are affirming and that are building. So instead of using our thoughts and our words to tear us down, let us use our thoughts and our words to build us up. And we have the power and ability to do that, but we need to catch ourselves when we start going towards these negative thoughts and self-statements, and either write them down, talk about them, work through them, journal, use positive affirmations to start that shift from negative self-talk to positive. Again, it's not an overnight fix, but it's something that with time, it becomes a habit, and we can catch ourselves, stop ourselves, and change the narrative.
Salome, you dealt with you had to go through representing this type of negative self-talk and dealing with body image issues. And how did acting out those parts, how did you kind of come out of the role, get into the role mentally for yourself? Because that's a hard That's a hard thing to portray in a movie.
Yeah. I mean, it was scary because I had to be in such a vulnerable state, and it knowing that, you know, someone who's experiencing this would have to be in a vulnerable state to even seek help. And I felt like it's important. It's really important if I put myself out there, and feel the emotions and saying, it's okay, like being that helping hand, like it's okay. You can do this. It's really okay. So it was really important for me. It was scary and I didn't like it at all,
Mhm.
but it was really important because there are so many people out there who don't even understand what they're going through. So for them to look at talk and say, oh, well, I experienced that. This is what I do. I need to seek help, you know. So it was important for me to show that and
Thank you
be.
so much for
Mhm.
the vulnerability.
Yes.
And it really came across on the screen. And I think that many women will look at that and appreciate that vulnerability and be able to soak in the courage to to step back and say, wait, that's me, and I need
Yeah.
to address this. I think that is so important. Uh,
Hmm.
so thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
So I think thank you both for your responses, and they were very rich answers that we're so glad to have. Um, I think one of my questions is coming from uh, I would say a friend. If somebody is on the outside, um, this question is for Chinea. If it's possible to find signs to recognize when someone is dealing with depression, or maybe how we can connect with them and let them know that they're not alone with dealing with depression. Um, so I'm wondering if there's any signs that we should look out for, if it's a friend or a family member, you
Mhm.
know, if there's, maybe whether they're subtle or obvious, if there's signs that we should look for, and how we can address them.
Absolutely. So, both in yourself and in others, if you start noticing that persistent sad mood, sad all the time, losing interest in activities that you used to enjoy, someone who used to enjoy being outdoors, hobbies and fun activities, suddenly no longer interested in them. Feelings of hopelessness and helplessness people start talking about just being anxious or worried. And this kind of goes on for, at least 2 weeks or more. And isolation, pulling away from social interactions. There's also appetite changes, either increase in appetite or reduction in appetite, weight gain or weight loss, sleeplessness or sleeping too much. And some people also talk about, like, physical symptoms of pain and aches and, just feeling generally feeling unwell, but there's nothing medically wrong with them. Just difficulty concentrating, not no longer paying attention. And Salome depicted, someone who was going through many of these symptoms that are associated with depression. So, and for some, it'll be, because on one hand, you could be sad and isolated. On another, someone else could show symptoms of depression as being just irritable, agitated, just restless, and, can't sit still. And it looks like anxiety. But it's also, it could also still be a part of depression, talking slower, moving slower. So there's so many signs and symptoms, but when you see a couple of different coming together, and it's someone who used to be lively and full of life, pessimism is another one. Someone who used to be optimistic and believe that things will work out well for them, and now suddenly they're pessimist and expecting the worst in everything. So there's several different signs and symptoms that a friend or relative, or you might start experiencing, and then it gives you a clue that there's underlying depression.
Mm,
I wanted to read an excerpt. Um,
thank you for sharing
Thank you
that.
so much. From a newspaper in regards to Chelsea Curse's death. After Chelsea Curse's death, former beauty queens say pageant life has long been a challenge for Black women. The writer for Insider says also, just told Insider that she understands what Curse was dealing with. I didn't feel comfortable wearing my hair any other way that I had to straighten it, she said. I loved wearing my hair natural, but I only felt like I would be accepted or looked at as glamorous in that arena if I did that to my hair, like I didn't have a choice. When she found out about Curse's death, just who connected with Curse at past pageants, said she was in disbelief. A lot of my sister queens, we've all had our bouts of depression after giving up the crown in various ways, just said, adding, I know I went through it, just said, young Black women who are entering the world of pageantry today should be you. Do you know? Do you know? Just go and represent yourself to be the best of your ability, she said. You don't have to change to be anybody else's standard. One thing I think I wanted to address is the image that the pressure, not by choice, but by the pressure of society when it comes to acceptance in the fields that we have, whether it be acting, whether it be modeling, whether it be psychology, whether it be corporate world, that pressure. What do you think would either one of you, Salome or Chinea, what do you think would help in mainstream to sort of alleviate that pressure on Black females to fit a stereotype? What has to change? What has to change for us to feel like that's a less of a burden, less to the addition of our depression? Because, you know, one of the things about pageantry is that it does end. It ends. And so after that, you come down off that high. But how do you deal with that? How do you come out? How do you deal with you after experiencing success? I should say that.
Absolutely. I can go if you, yeah. But I think it's that acceptance that we're enough. We don't need to change to fit anyone's mold. We are all unique, we're all different, and we're absolutely enough. And I think that is something that, you know, society is trying to fit people in this mold, or you have these expectations that people should look a certain way, talk a certain way, be a certain way. But we all need to recognize that we're all unique for a reason. We're created beautiful and special, and we are enough. And I think that is what everyone needs to internalize in their different spheres of life, that regardless of what's being said and done out there, that I'm good, I'm enough.
So to add to that, it, it's really important. One of the things that I grew up believing is that you need to brighten the corner where you are. And if we're friends and we're sisters, you know, it's important for you to uplift each other, you know, because sometimes, unfortunately, we'll wear our hair and we'll wear it like in an afro or something. And somebody might just say, oh, I don't like your hair. Why don't you put it in some braids or something, you know? And that's really unacceptable, because why can't I wear my hair the way it grows out my head, you know? And so I think that we should be mindful as women of the things that we say to other women. You know, you should probably think twice before you say, oh, I don't like the way you look, or say, and something that I think that we all should think of as well is that if someone can't change something about themselves in like 2 seconds, don't mention it. That's what I think. We do so much to ourselves and others when we don't pay attention to what we say before we say it.
Right. I think those are both amazing and interesting points that you both made.
Yeah.
And it's very important that we, like you said, brighten up the corner of the world that we're in.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that permeates and helps other people, so that we can all feel better being ourselves together.
Yeah.
One thing I like, Viola Davis she made the top 20 highest paid actresses that there are now. And when you look at the list, she is the only Black on the list in that 20. And that is, to me, that is a way of brightening up her corner, because she is Viola. You're not going to change Viola Davis, and I like that. And even Oprah, she has not really changed much. She's still Oprah, and now she has her own channel. So she brightened up her corner, but I think that it's true. We should uplift each other. We should boost each other. It should be in our dialogue to always uplift each other, whether it's with words of affirmation, where we have to relearn how to communicate in a way that's positive and productive, I think.
I think there was this one expression that I had seen one time. It was a picture of one Black woman putting on the crown of another Black woman, fix each other's crowns, help each other out, love each other, be considerate and compassion, and have compassion on each other. So I think those are great points to bring up, and that, even if the world is not reminding us to do that, but we should remind each other and, remind ourselves, if we see ourselves being negative towards someone, catch it and then come back, So.
Yes, and we have a lot of Easter eggs in talk, which I hope people look for, painting.
Yeah.
Like that. So there's more depth to it. Chinea, what was your favorite part of the movie?
There were so many great parts of it. I liked the, Salome did a great job really depicting someone with depression, the mood, the behaviors, just putting that mask on and smiling during the birthday party, but, then going back home and just, continuing with this negative self-talk towards finally decided to talk. She picked up the phone. She was like, and this was someone who was kind of already there in her social circle, like, hey, let me know if you need to talk, like reach out. And so what I liked about that is that, that part is that it didn't make it seem like it was this one conversation that fixed everything. It's a process. It takes time to work through those negative thoughts. It takes time to change how we see ourselves, how we see the world, how we see our circumstances. It does take time. It's a process. So the illusion that it's going to be like a quick fix, I just need something to make me feel better. And that's why a lot of people end up like self-medicating, using substances, alcohol, to just numb those feelings, rather than work through them so that they learn how to manage them better. So I like the fact that, it showed that, look, this is a process, it takes time. And with that time and effort and work put in, this is the outcome. You can be a happier person. Yes, life is still going to have its ups and downs. We're still going to have challenges, but learning how to cope with them better is very doable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Salome, what was
Yeah.
your favorite part to play?
My favorite part was just having everyone there and everyone sort of coming together because it was heavy, right? It was really, really heavy. I remember when we went to the I'm sorry, when we went to the river, that was a really, really heavy day. And my favorite part was just having everyone there, like a support system and stuff. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Thank you so much. Okay, so did can you
So I guess one of the questions that we have for you, Salome, is
Mm-hmm.
are you thinking about writing any more short films or
Oh,
long
for sure,
form films?
for sure, for sure. Yeah. Yes, I am thinking about it, but I think that how I want to do things is that I want to work on something really deep and dark, and then I want to work on something light. So the next thing I do might be, yeah, the next thing I do might be kind of like a comedy, maybe. And then I promised my sister that I'm gonna work on something with her because she wrote like a story. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Sounds wonderful. Sounds like a lot of wonderful things that are going to be coming about in the future.
Yeah.
I think one of my questions for you, Chinaya, is are there any resources that you can share with us that would be helpful to other people in terms of battling those thoughts and dealing with depression on a daily basis? Because I think we talked about and we showed in the film like words of affirmation to kind of to get over those negative thoughts. So being repetitious when it comes to the positive rather than the negative.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, for sure. I think, one of the important things to know is that whenever we get to the point where it's starting to negatively impact our functioning at work, functioning in, academics, social relationships, family relationships, then it's time to seek help from professionals. And help could be in the form of medication management and or therapy. So either, therapy is always good to combine with medication management if meds are recommended, because the talk therapy is to kind of work with you and teach you and process with you and, guide you through learning better coping skills, better mood management skills. But a couple of things that people can do on their own if it has not gotten to the stage where they think they need therapy, definitely positive affirmations, like we said, because we see how these negative automatic thoughts are just intrusive. They pop into our minds without us asking for them or looking for them. So we need to have tools to challenge these negative thoughts or replace them. It's not enough to say, stop thinking that or stop saying that. We need to have something to say, okay, do this. And maybe while doing this, it'll naturally eliminate the unhealthy. So I developed affirmation cards that can help, because sometimes we don't have the vocabulary a lot of times to change these statements on our own, and we might need a little bit of help. So I developed some and I have them right here. So this is I don't know if there's a glare there, but Serenity Radiance affirmation cards. And I also have Christian affirmation cards,
Yeah.
because there are so many, as a Christian, there are also biblical Bible passages that support some affirmations, and I'm going to show you, like, this is one of the cards. I don't know if you can see that. I am confident and capable. The one that drops said, I am unique and beautiful. This one says, I am full of unlimited potential. I am worthy and enough. I am resilient and I always overcome. So when we start repeating these types of statements to ourselves on a daily basis, multiple times a day, we won't even have the bandwidth to accommodate and continue to entertain the negative thoughts that pop into our heads. Yes, they might come, but we have a tool that we can use to override them, to chase them out. And the Christian affirmation cards are, like I am beautiful, and it has a little Bible scripture to support that. I am peaceful, and a Bible scripture to support that. I am more than a conqueror. I am enough. I am clear and focused. I am content. So it has, all of them have little Bible scriptures to support those statements. So, for someone who is a Christian and they want to use biblical passages to support their affirmations, I have that there with the Christian affirmations. The other affirmations are for those who are not, affiliated with any particular religion, but they just want to replace that negative self-talk with positive affirmations. And these are not like again, an overnight fix. They're things that, because we're talking about changing years of talking to ourselves in negative ways, it is important to really take the time to continue utilizing positive affirmations every single day, multiple times a day. So over time, you will see that the thoughts, the words, what you say will start changing.
I love that. I think that I definitely, we're going to post your link and make sure that people inquire about those cards. Such an
Yeah.
excellent tool
Thank you.
Yeah.
for keeping in mind affirmations, because a lot of people do not know where to begin. And having those cards is an excellent way to begin, and an excellent way to continue to reprogram your mind with those words that will encourage and build you up, and not tear down, to change the narrative of your life and your perspective of yourself.
Absolutely. Sometimes some people struggle with positive affirmations. They're too unbelievable for them because of the amount of negative messages they've been telling themselves that are not all the way positive, but they're helpful in being able to say, I am struggling, but I can do today. I'm struggling, but I can get up and go to work, or things like that. People can Google neutral affirmations. So if positive affirmations seem too much, they can look at neutral affirmations and try to, everyone.
Right. So the neutral affirmations is like a stepping stone to dealing with the positive affirmations, which may be overwhelming for them at first.
Absolutely. Yes.
So they can just Google that, and that will might be helpful for those baby steps to, well, not just steps to helping them with
feel better.
Affirmation. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I like that you brought up that it's important that, when we're saying these affirmations, that we're not just saying them, but believing them ourselves, because I could be like, oh, I could say the same thing to myself over and over again, but if I'm not believing it, it's not going to do anything for me. So if somebody's like, oh, well, the affirmations didn't work for me, well, did you apply them? So it's important to apply these lessons that we are given.
Absolutely. One other thing that I will say, in addition to that, is one of the things that I try to encourage my clients to do is to talk to themselves as if they were talking to a friend or a younger sibling, because a lot of times we are so hard on ourselves and so critical of ourselves, and we feel it's okay to say negative statements to ourselves. But then, if we are talking to someone a younger sibling, our younger self, our 10 you're communicating with them, you will not say those negative statements to them. So I encourage people to sometimes step out of themselves and talk to themselves as if they're talking to an impressionable young person, and speak with kindness, with love, with empathy to themselves, because we are worth it.
Well,
Thank
that's
you.
amazing. It's almost like acting.
Mhm.
What are some, Salome, what are some affirmation statements that you have said to yourself?
Oh, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. That's my favorite one. um, yeah, and I am beautiful. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength.
Uh,
So yeah, yeah, like that.
I I was looking at another article, and it said that the spiritual and religious practices of people really help with depression. Have you
Mhm.
also seen that in your practice,
Like in your walk of faith.
Janelle? Yes, and also with you, Salome, do you find that that
Well,
helps you with your career?
yeah. Sometimes sometimes some roles are like really, really hard. With like the techniques and stuff that we do, and we have to live truthfully. So like when we work on stuff, we might be playing a part that is really down, and sometimes that like plays on my mind for a couple days or whatever. And some days when I get really sad, because I do, I remember, like growing up and hearing, train up a child in the way he should go, so that when he's old, he wouldn't depart from it. And so I find that me singing like little hymns and stuff from my childhood, they help. So that's yeah, I do think that having um a background in Christianity does help because you're comforted.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Uh,
Yeah.
Janaea, in your practicing, you're dealing with a lot of people with various emotions and mental health. How, as a clinician, dealing with your own mental health and keeping that healthy, um, does your religion help you?
Absolutely, without a doubt. It is a natural protective factor for me, having a personal relationship with God and believing the Bible and knowing that what it says is true, about me and about life for me. So it is a strong protective factor for me. And I also, for my clients who also are Christians, and they're wanting to integrate Christian counseling in their work, that I enjoy that. I enjoy that. So trying to figure out who, of course, it's if that's what they're requesting, because I also work with people who are not Christians, but I do integrate that for those who request it. But and just talking a little bit about protective factor, like you rightly said, having a religion, a strong belief, in something, someone, is a really good protective factor and helpful for a lot of people struggling with mental health challenges. And in addition to other protective factors that can help either reduce the severity of their symptoms and protect them from having the worst experiences.
Mm. Wow, that's
Thank you.
amazing.
That is amazing. I just read an article recently about music being a very helpful factor. And I know that what she said with the hymns and Christian music for myself, I think that I appreciate that. It definitely helps with tension and editing and uplifting your spirits. So it's
I think one question that I feel like may pop up is I'm not sure if you've gotten this question already. You may have, but there's the question of when the doctor's sick, who does the doctor go to? You know, so I think that question might arise somewhere. So I just wanted to address this now. So for you, in your field of work and your field of study, when you feel like when you feel down, aside from like maybe in prayer or dealing with it in prayer or are there people who you will connect with, or that you connect with that you trust, to help you deal with what you may be going through in life at certain points in time? Because, like you mentioned earlier, we all go through our ups and our downs. So in
Absolutely.
those down
Mhm.
times, how do you address them personally?
Absolutely. And I will say therapists have therapists. We're encouraged to have therapists. We're encouraged to be in therapy. And I have a lot of therapy friends that we collaborate. I have a supervisor, from my school years and my, past years that we are still, in contact. I have someone that I reach out to when there's a need. So it's a part of life. It's a way of life at this point. It's important, and I really want to stress and emphasize that we all need somebody. No one is an island unto themselves. The greatest therapist needs a therapist, someone to talk to, process with, sounding board. So because a lot of times when we're dealing with stuff and we're so close to the situation, we don't view things objectively because we're subjective, where it's a subjective experience. We might not be able to address it in a way that is, I guess, devoid of judgment. So it is important that we have someone to kind of talk to and process things with, so that don't, we don't hurt ourselves, or we don't start functioning, and doing a disservice to the clients we serve. So absolutely, yes. I also take my mental health very seriously, and it helps me be the best me I can for the clients that I serve.
I have a question. Uh, well, two questions. One is for Chinea, and one is for Salome. The first is Chinea. Now, when someone is reaching out for with the disparity of the proper counseling for some women, in particular underserved community, how does one go about determining when a counselor is not healthy for them, and then needing to reach out and search for another, and knowing that they need to get another counselor or seek another clinician?
So the therapeutic relationship is the single most important, element of a successful counseling experience. When you start feeling like you're not heard, when you start feeling like you're not, that someone has their own agenda, and they're following their own agenda, and they're not really truly hearing you. Of course, the first couple of sessions is rapport building, where you share the client shares their story, shares their symptoms, gives a history of what it is that precipitating factors that led them to seeking counseling, and just a general overview of their background, their history. A clinical assessment is completed. And then the next couple of sessions will be developing a treatment plan. This is what we're going to focus on. This is what we're going to work on. And start building rapport with the clinician. Some people stay with the same therapist for years. Some people do a couple of sessions and feel like, my needs are not being met. They're not really listening to me. They're not really hearing me. And then it's always healthy to, say, okay, this is not working for me, or I feel like I've maxed out, what I'm getting or benefiting in this relationship, and I want to explore something else. So there's so many reasons, but I feel like once you feel like you're no longer being heard and it's no longer helpful, then it's time to look for someone else and kind of try and see if you'll get a better experience with the next person.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. So they should at least, though, start the initial services to get to that point before they make a final decision.
Absolutely. Because, there are some people who the very first session, because it's a lot of information gathering, and the clinician is trying to get the history. Some people might just have a lot on their mind, and they just kind of want to vent. So the clinician has to use their clinical judgment to say, should I just put this paperwork aside and just hear this, a person, because they're feeling stressed out, they're feeling overwhelmed. So I have a really client-centered approach where I kind of feel and sense where, my clients are and meet them there. So if the clinical assessment does not need to happen that first session, then we can postpone it to a different session and just let that surface, explosion or volcano just come out. And that can be therapeutic in and of itself, just venting whatever it is that has you feeling overwhelmed. And then work can be done later on. So I think the first couple of sessions will give a potential client, an individual, an idea as to what this therapist counseling style is. Is it a good fit for me? Someone who is amazing could have someone who just finds them not so. So it is kind of like, just know that you have to feel comfortable. You have to feel like you're being heard. And if you don't feel like that, if you don't feel like this is a warm, inviting, non-judgmental, person that you can talk to, then look elsewhere.
Thank you. That's very important.
You're welcome.
Now, Salome, as far as acting and what you were saying, that a lot of the roles, some of the roles that you take, and I'm sure as a whole, and actors and actresses take on many roles that are very challenging for them at times. Is there a support system in place for actors and actresses to deal with those emotions, to deal with what might be the after effect of having to play a role like that?
That's a really good question. Well, I haven't, I'm sure there are, but I haven't accessed any. But I find it helpful to like talk to my other friends, you know, talk to them about it and talk about, like how it makes me feel, because I think that sometimes it spills over, even though we're not supposed to. It's a character, we play the character and we're supposed to be done with it, but sometimes it sort of like spills over. But yeah, for me, I talk to like my active friends about, like, if it does spill over and I feel some type of way, I'm able to talk to my active friends about it. I do believe that some of them even step away, and take a break if things get too heavy. And I think that, like I said before, for me, how I intend to deal with that after doing like heavy stuff like talk, I'll just move on to something lighter, like a comedy or something. So yeah.
So I think what I'm getting from you is that it's important to like surround yourself with people that you can, share things with.
Yes.
Um,
I'm sorry, and people who understand.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's really good. I think that will help other actors and actresses also, just to have that social. It would be nice though if y'all had like some kind of forum or something,
Yeah,
some
that
sort
would be
of
nice.
to
Yeah.
connect with that.
Yeah. hmm I'm
Okay.
sure they are, but maybe not, we haven't,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
Huh,
Well, you're
for sure.
definitely a wonderful actress because
Yes.
Thank you.
it takes you a lot to do everything that you did on screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course we have more to come to see,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
aside from that, I think being that you're so engrossed in the role that it's kind of hard to break character. I think that in itself is sort of an efficiency that you have, when it comes to playing that role. And I think it's good that you have people that, that you can connect with,
Mhm.
that know what you're going through or how you need to deal with that, or to leave that pressure of being in
Mhm.
that role and then stepping back into your life. So
Yes.
you're living the life of the character, and you're making
Yeah.
the character come to life through your actions. So I think that's important.
Yeah.
I want to, before we close, I want to address the youth. You know, they are our future also. And you ladies, thank you so much. You're so awesome and so experienced, and you had so much information, so much to give. This is going to be rich to share with other people.
Yes.
And looking for the future, there's so many youth that are suffering from depression, especially in colleges and universities. I want to ask you both, Chinea and Salome, what would you give to them? Or what would you give to the youth who are suffering in silence, um, and who want to express, those who want to express, you know, the subjects like depression on screen or in any creative way? What advice would you give them for going about, one, getting help, and two, being expressive?
So I think we'll split the question in
Yes.
two. So for
Okay.
for Chinea, how would a youth go and get help? And for Salome, you know, later you after Chinea's answer, ask you how would you express yourself? So actually that is a dual part question, but I think it's important that we get answers about those from both of you.
How would you, okay.
Okay. Um, yes, I will say that I will encourage people to just have a strong and healthy support system. You know, because sometimes when we're dealing with different emotions, stressors, and all of that, whether it's our family support, whether it's a trusted adult, whether, you know, it's friends, professionals, just have a healthy support system. A lot of people are coming from dysfunctional families and they might not even know what that looks like. You know, there's some people who have grown up in a family that they were not modeled what is a healthy way to communicate, what is a healthy way to cope with stress, what is a healthy way to manage your mood, you know. So what are healthy outlets? And we all need this. We all need healthy people around us. We all need healthy ways to release stress, or healthy outlets, whether it's exercise, whether it's, you know, eating right, doing the right things. So healthy living, sleeping, you know, taking a rest when you need rest, eating when you're hungry, you know, things like that. So there's so many things that a healthy support system can be reminding these youth, these young ones, to do. If you have friends that are around you who, like one of the questions you asked earlier is how to identify these symptoms in someone who might be struggling. If you don't have people around you, there will be no one to observe that you're experiencing these behavioral changes to offer help. So even if you don't know the path to getting help, a friend, a family member might know the path to getting help, to getting to a professional. So I will say, definitely don't be isolated. Surround yourself with people who you know, are healthy and who are not toxic. Even if these people are not in your natural environment, your family, find places where you can connect with other people, whether it's, you know, a church or other religious organization, whether it's clubs, and, you know, just there are ways to connect. The one thing that COVID did is it broke down, you know, a lot of places that people could connect. It made that impossible, well, difficult to connect with other people. And the rate of depression and suicide increased significantly during the pandemic because people were isolated, because a lot of activities that people could go out and release stress were closed down. But now things are, you know, things are starting to get better. So it will be good for everyone to have a good social support network. And these are some of the questions we ask during assessment, is trying to identify what social support network, what activities, what hobbies, recreational activities that is available to people, and make sure that they're connected with them. So bottom line is, have a good support network and have good coping skills. If you don't, I guess, Google these things. You know, there's healthy stress coping activities. There's healthy mood management activities that is free on the internet. So, but a lot of times, you know, just talking about these things and having someone to remind you to do these things are helpful, because sometimes we know what to do, but we don't do it. But having an accountability partner is helpful and will like get us to get up and actually start doing the things that we know to do that we're not doing.
And that's wonderful.
Right.
So one thing I did want to, one thing you mentioned, yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
It's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. So the question was, what would I tell someone who's like a young person, like
Yes.
dealing? Okay. I think that the biggest lie that we tell ourselves sometimes is that we're the only ones. And it's important to know that we're not. And so, you know, if you see this and you're going through, you know, depression or whatever, you are important. And there's a reason why you're here. You need to be here. And it's no shame in going and talking to somebody about whatever it is that you're going through. Yeah, you're loved and you're important, and just take the necessary steps that you need to take to make yourself well. Yeah.
That is so wonderful. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you both.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Wow, that is a great way. I think that's a nice ending.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really wrap everything up.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Me,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tanea, and Kimay. And also Tanea is writing a book.
Yeah.
So we have to look forward to that book. It's a self-help book, am I right? So you have to look
Yes.
forward to that book. We will post her website underneath the post, and we will. She also will post a website where you can find her cards soon, and we'll also post anything that Salome will be doing in the future. We're excited. They're excited about that. We're excited to see the future. We're excited for both of you ladies. Thank you so much for joining us. Talk will be premiering at the Rec Philly
Yes.
Oh my God.
Expo on the 27th.
Yes.
On the 27th of this month on Wednesday, and hopefully we're really excited. You have to go to Rec Philly if you want to go to their website if you want to be a part of the opening. Register soon. Yes, on their open house. It's a red carpet. And so we're very excited. And it also is a part of the Playhouse West Film Festival.
Yeah.
That'll be coming up soon.
That's coming up.
Yeah.
And we'll post updates on that. And we're excited.
Hopefully in the future you guys can see this streamed.
Yes.
Online.
Yeah.
So New View Productions, we hope to make more films. We hope to bring more panel talks to help enlighten, to help bless people, and to
change the culture.
Change the culture.
Yeah.
Aside from that, look forward to
Awesome.
God be the
productions.
glory. Yes. New View Productions.
Thank you guys so
Thank
much for what
you.
you're
Very
doing.
much.
It's
It's a
amazing.
pleasure. Hopefully one day you'll come back with us again.
Yes. When the book comes out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Ladies.
Thank you so
Keep
much.
up the
Thank
great
you.
work. And thank
Oh,
you.
thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.